The purpose of this video is to demonstrate a few of the shortcuts that are available in Excel. What I've got here are monthly returns for Apple stock and Tesla stock for 2018. And I'm going to use this as an example to demonstrate some of the little shortcuts that are available to you. First of all, I want to point out that you can look at your data and find the end of the data with a Control-Shift-End. This will select all of your data. Well, that isn't very useful to us, so what we're going to do is just select specific data. For example, let's say I want to get just Apple returns for this year. What I'm going to do is use Control, Shift, and the down arrow, and this will select the Apple returns. Now, if I'd like to provide a shortcut in referring to these cells, instead of typing in C5 to C16 every time, I could name this group of cells. So I'm going to go up here to the name box, and in the name box I'm going to type a name, and I'm just going to call this Apple. And you want a name that's meaningful, because if you start using names quite a bit in a workbook, it can get confusing. So you want to make up names that actually will remind you of that data. I'm going to do the same thing over here with Tesla. I'm going to go in here and highlight the Tesla shares returns, and then I'm going to type in the word Tesla. So now in our name box we've got two names, Apple and Tesla. So as I select these, it'll actually highlight those for you. Now let's do something with those names. For example, let's suppose that I want to calculate the average. So I'm going to go over here and use the built-in function average, and then I'm going to type in my shortcut name. And you notice I could go in the pop-up and double-click that as well. And that'll give me the average for that. If I want Teslas, I would then type in the name Tesla. Now, of course, with just 12 observations, I could have just highlighted those cells easily with my mouse, and that would have been done with it. But let's suppose we have thousands of observations. Then these shortcuts come in handy and make it a lot easier to manage. Now I'm just going to erase this for convenience here, and I'm going to show you what the Name Manager can do. In the Formula ribbon, you'll see something called Name Manager. Well, by creating the names, they will show up in Name Manager, and it'll describe what that is. It'll describe the observations, the cell references, and whether the scope is workbook or worksheet. When you start building a lot of worksheets within a workbook, you might want to reuse some of the names. For example, dates, or something very common to your different worksheets. If you want a different name, you're going to use the same name but for different worksheets, but they mean something different, then you might have a scope of worksheet. By default, the names are going to be workbook names. That is, you can use them anywhere in the workbook. But if you want to reuse names within a workbook so they mean different things for different worksheets, you'd have to change the scope to worksheet. So we're going to use the default here. Now you can use the Name Manager to actually edit and change the names. And so if we, for example, wanted the name Apple to only refer to C5 through C15 instead of 16, we could change it down here in refers and then approve the change and so forth. Well, we're not going to do that here, but you could alter the name. You could also use Name Manager to make more sophisticated names. When you get into some advanced Excel, you might want to use things like offset or some, formula that's a function of different variables, and you could do that in the Name Manager. That's more advanced. We're going to leave that for some other time. But just so you know that you can get more advanced in name specifications. So to demonstrate it, we can go to another sheet. These are workbook references. So we could use, say, median, and then apple. And there's the median apple return. So as you can see, you could use it anywhere in the workbook.